because he thinks that there's no such thing. You know, if he puts his working clothes on at the same time each morning and goes into his studio and sits down and works, something will come out. But he doesn't see that as being about inspiration or about anything sort of cosmic working in him. It's about habit and it's about craft. And I suppose because some of songwriting is subconscious, as Jason was saying, it's about letting a cloud of ideas settle, and then seeing what feels right, and seeing what your subconscious is prepared to keep keep resonating with as you keep working on a song. That means you're allowing your subconscious to actually come into play and write it for you. And all you have to do really is keep your tools sharp, keep your husbanding, if you don't mind that old word, of the material. Keep critically revising what you're doing. And songwriting is really boring to listen to. If you're in the next room and you're listening to somebody singing a line over and over again. So what we do is we'll have a verse maybe, and then we'll have another chunk which may or may not want to turn into a verse, or it may be putting in its own bid for freedom and want to be a bridge or something like that, you know. And we just don't know, but we have to hammer it into submission, and it's incredibly tedious for other people. But when you think about it, it's all about trying it again and trying it again and trying it again, and working with your craft and with your subconscious. I mean, and what Jason was saying about the way words sing is really right, because songs aren't just poetry. Songs are often quite plain sets of words that wouldn't work on paper really. But the way that when they get put together with the music, that's when sparks ignite. And if you think of something like Ray Davies' Waterloo Sunset, are you familiar with that song? Yeah. If he's got a bit in it where he goes, but I don't feel afraid, and just that little bit. He wanted to say, but I don't feel afraid. With those chords and in that part of the song, but I don't feel afraid, or any number of other options would have worked, but none would have worked as well as the one he arrived at. Because why? Because it goes into a high register of his voice, it goes into a suspension over the chord. It sounds frightened. And I don't know whether he would have wanted that. I don't know whether he sat down and consciously thought, I'll go up to the suspension, I'll go up to the ninth and come back down again, and it'll be high in my voice, so I'll sound frightened. He probably went, I've played this motherfucker 10 times, 50 times, that's the best. That sounds the best, and that's the process that we're in, and that's why it's a bit hard to explain, I guess.
Yeah.
He may not have known that, but we do.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to interject here. So when you're writing, do you, at some stage, do you use your background and context in, harmony to choose where those melodies are going, or generally you treat it like very much at the grindstone, and the emotion collides, and then that all works together, or?
Oh no, I'm an awful magpie. I mean, if like I said with While You Sleep, I had an emotional sort of pile of compost that I wanted to work with and to see whether something was going to grow out of it. And I had a fragment. I had various fragments, Queens and Jesters. I thought that was an interesting idea because I've been listening to lots of Richard Thompson, and he tends to use those sorts of flowery English folk terms. But I also wanted to use the word flat. So somehow all of those things were going to come together in a song somehow. And melodically and harmonically, I might have the same thing as well. I might wake up in the morning and think, I'm going to write a song today, and it's not going to have that major minor descending semitone trick that I've used so many times, in the last 5 songs or whatever. And so that provides a constriction. That provides a sort of like a little rule for that day's writing. I'm not going to use that, so I've got to find something else to get that sort of that rush, that little sense of excitement, or that link between one bit and another bit.
So would you describe yourselves as disciplined people, Jason? Is there a discipline to all this?
I've become more disciplined. I won't say that I am disciplined. I'm late to everything. you know, including sitting down every day to try and write, and I am trying to be more disciplined in terms of treating it like a job, you know, literally clocking in and, you know, as Don said before, trying to turn up and write. And, you know, I think Woody Guthrie used to try and write a song before breakfast every day, you know, and I love that idea.
That's what Nick Cave does. He evidently he has like a 2-story house in Surrey somewhere or something, and he puts his suit on in the morning and walks downstairs and sits at a desk and writes until a certain time in the day, and then he walks back upstairs, takes his suit off, and carries on. Marvellous.
I love that idea. I don't know that I could do it. I'm trying to. trying to clock in every day and I will, you know, I will say it has. Maybe that's what's happened in the last 2 weeks. You know, that's the difference, is that I am being very intentional and that we know we've got. And that's another thing, I guess, is that op shop. Well, I tend to work on deadlines. If I don't have a deadline in front of me, I'll just, you know, my discipline is completely out the door. If I know we've got a record that's due in 3 months and we've got a song, then I know someone's got to do the work, and it's probably me. So, you know, I'll do what I can. I'll get up at 9 and head down to the studio by 11 and you know, at the crack.
Go hard, man.
And sit there for an hour and then go off to Subway and get some food, you know.
Gotta eat.
There is a real, I mean, there's something that tries to draw you away from doing that work as well. And I guess I just get so frustrated when I'm going over that same turnaround over and over and over again, and all I hear is the same melodies that I've always done, and then something tells me, oh, you're probably hungry, mate, you know. What you need is a feed, bro. So I'll try and resist that as much as I possibly can. And it turns out the more you can be with that frustration, for me, the more productive I get.
Would you like to try one of them on us? One of the new ones?
One of the new ones? No, but I will try. But I will try something.
Another question.
Okay.
Trying at you this time.
All right.
Tell us a bit about it.
Excuse me. Do you have a pick, Dawn, or have I got a pick? I've got a pick.
Pick's on there, on the top. No, on the top of the guitar. There you
Oh, okay.
go. Yeah, and you got to plug it in.
I don't know whose. Is that yours?
No, it's yours.
That
I
came
would
out
have
of-
thought you would have a pick in your pocket, Jason.
Well, I have, but I don't know whose it is. I'll leave it there
Maybe
anyway.
they're not
Are
your
they yours?
trousers.
Yeah, that's right.
Possibly. You never know.
That'll teach you to come in your underpants.
This song I'm going to play for you. Actually, I need to. This ring's become problematic. I know.
It's marriage for you.
It's marriage feed me. You reckon? Okay.
Rock and roll.
I'm just going to stick it on that hand. So what song could I play? All right. So when we were touring last year, we decided to throw a bit of a curveball at ourselves, and we thought, well, you know, we get to visit all these different places around the country often, and yet because of the transient nature of gigging, you don't really get an opportunity to get to know the place. You know, you meet a few people, but we thought, wouldn't it be interesting to you know, get more of a relationship with each place that we move through? And we had, I think, a 17-date tour. But we said to ourselves, well, why don't we, well, I said to the band, why don't we try writing a song every day about the place that we're going through that combines some of the geographic stuff, some of the, you know, some of the personalities, some of the icons, some of the cultural stuff from every city that we moved through. And it was an absolute mission. I don't know, you know, after the third day, I didn't know what the hell I was thinking. But one of my favourite ones, and I'll try playing it. It's been a while, actually. I in the green room, thought I'd try and get my head around the chords, but didn't quite get there. I'm going to try it anyway. You know, I think we've got a forgiving audience here, so yay. But this is a song that I wrote about Taranaki, and it incorporated a few of those bits and pieces, so hopefully you get a sense of what's going on there. So, plug it in. Great, thanks, mate. Nice one. That thing there. Okay. Sweaty hands. was banished to the west coast from the central plateau to start a new life beyond Pihana's heart. And the crystal clear tears filled Wanganui River's chasms, leaving behind a story of a journey of love. And it said the clouds still hide the tears he shed. And it said he wrapped the west coast around him. He sang, my dearest sons and daughters, my sisters, my brothers, we will be like no other. His family was christened by the heavy Tasman sea spray, where history found him older sorrows. And they were all just far enough away to lose themselves in yesterday. So much has changed and there's still tomorrow. And it said the clouds still hide the tears he shed. And it said he wrapped the west coast around him. He sang, my dearest sons and daughters, my sisters, my brothers, we will be like no other. We will be like no other. Surfing highway, an old coach trail, Pukekohe Park, finding the midday sun, a warm iron beach, the presence of Te Whiti will still remain when our humanness is done. And it said the clouds still hide the tears he shed. And it said he wrapped the west coast around him. He sang, my dearest sons and daughters, my sisters, my brothers, we will be like no other. And it said the clouds still hide the tears he shed. And it said he wrapped the west coast around him. He sang, my dearest sons and daughters, oh my sisters, my brothers, we will be like no other. We will be like no other. We will be, yeah, we will be, yeah, we will be, yeah. Oh, Taranaki, we will be like no other. We will be like no other. We will be. We will be. I think we faded out on the recording.
Good man, Jason.
Falling out.
Which brings us, I guess, to the whole world of songs being about a sense of place. And Don, you've done that many times, from the beautiful Dominion Road to the microcosm, I guess. I came home to find the kitchen sink was leaking.
Right.
Anybody know No Plans for Later? About the black stain on the floor, it grows and grows. And then songs about comets. So, you know, like, if you live in this little country of ours, how important is it, do you think, that we, as the listeners, have a body of work that reflects where we are and who we are? Do you ever think about that? When you
I think it's hugely important, but I don't think that I don't know that going around and writing lots of songs about lots of different places in New Zealand is necessarily going to result in a lot of resonant songs, because whether songs resonate or not is entirely up to posterity, and it's a slippery, unknowable thing, really. It has to do with what catches people's imagination, what they can use. I've always just tried to write. People have said to me that I'm sort of doggedly, I'm a regional writer. I like to write lots about this place, and what I tend to say to them is I'm not. What I am is a detailed writer. I tend to not write about fantasy things or about. I tend not to have very vague subjects. I sometimes write from dreams, and they're pretty vague. But largely, I like to write about pretty domestic detail and concrete things, and that means that it's most likely that I'll be writing about this place because I've spent most of my life here. So it would seem to me weird to write about anything else. So I'm kind of explaining away any charge of nationalism by just saying that it's just my writing habits are detailed and specific. But having said that, I think it's really important. I think this whole, of course in Māori tradition there's enormous amounts of songs written about all aspects of this landscape, but they're largely lost to us in the modern world. There's been great work done to resurrect them, but we would need them translated. We'd need them to come in and be part of our current daily life. The thing with pop songs is that there's very few songs written about different parts of this country. I've been asked to help curate a CD that follows the walking trail, the walking trail that's going to go from the north of New Zealand right to the south, and it's going to open in a couple of years. And the idea is something that a hypothetical German tourist anybody, doesn't have to be German, could pick up and listen to, so that when they walk past Huntly, they hear a Top Twins song, and yada yada yada, which is fantastic. But when you start doing it, there's very few songs, and there's quite a lot of songs which are satirical, like Taumata Nui on the Main Trunk Line or something like that. There's not that many songs which are both regional. They're both of a place, and they're also strong enough that they've captured people over a length of time, so that they're kind of favourite songs for that place. Unlike an old place like England, where you'd walk from village to village and there would be a song for each village, probably. So I think it's a great idea to do that.
But why do you think there are so few? Do we start with Queen Victoria and then go into the cane, or is there a suppression? Are people embarrassed to sing about where we live?
Well, there's a split. There's only been a small number of generations of people writing in English here, and also there has long been a sense that if you sing in your own accent, it kind of has to be satirical. It's not like that anymore. But when I first started writing songs, it was okay to do comedy in a New Zealand accent, like Fred Dagg. But if you sang something serious in your own accent, people sort of just thought it sounded naff, and that's changed, and that's a really good thing, I think.
So talking about fragments of songs, or what they're about and how they begin and all that. Do you ever think about the first line of a song when you start a song? Because I've always thought the first line is the one where someone goes, I need to know more. I've got to hang in with this thing. I mentioned before, I came home to find the kitchen sink was leaking. Well, why would you want to say, I don't think I want to know anymore. And I loved your, I've got to find the page because I've got to be carried away. Yeah, no ordinary thing. Was this to show you I would not fail you? Yeah, I got it off the internet. I didn't pay anything either. I hope that's okay.
I think it's hugely important. I think the first word, first phrase, yeah, absolutely. It just carries so much gravitas. It sets the context for the rest of the song. As you say, it's is it going to leave the listener wanting to hear more, or are they going to switch off straight away? And not that you're always writing for someone necessarily to hear it, but it's a song, so it kind of makes sense for someone to hear it. And would you rather that they were captured in that first moment, or switched off in that first moment? And it certainly is a challenge every single time. And I don't know that there's a formula, but I seem to be making more sense of my scribbles these days, and I think in terms of coming up with first lines, for sure, I'm changing them all the time, particularly in the new stuff that we're writing. And when I look back on the old diaries from previous writing periods, the first lines have been scribbled out numerous times, and then I've supplanted something from somewhere else in the song that I thought might make a bit more sense, or not even necessarily make sense, but create more of a landscape such that the listener wanted to take a torch around and find out more about the landscape.
Cool.
That's kind of it.
Yeah, that's really right. I mean, I tend to get carried away with scene setting in the first verse, and people. Yeah, sometimes I think when I'm writing a song, I'm thinking this is a short story, this is a short film, and I'm trying to shoehorn it all into this sort of 3.5 minute form. But the challenge is to find a way of being concise, find a way of getting the right images in, so that you do have an atmosphere in the song without a whole flowery first verse that puts the audience to sleep. And I find I'm getting a bit better at that nowadays, I must admit. It's great to hear you talk about journals, though, because one of the best things that ever happened to me was I was 16, I was going to university, and I was studying American poetry, and the guys that were running the American poetry course there, they made us all these kids who were just in their first year of their BA, just made us all keep a journal, and they marked it. And they said, put everything in there, really embarrassing stuff, just notions, stick things in, impressions of theatre that you've been to, impressions of books that you've read, beginnings of ideas for poems or novels. And we did all this, and then they marked them. God knows how they marked them. But I think they just wanted to know that we were making entries every day. And that's become a habit which has stayed with me, and now I've got just shelves full of the things, and they're my resource material, because I find I haven't necessarily got better, at being a membrane through which the world passes. I haven't necessarily got any more open to the sights and sounds of the world as I've got older. What I probably have got better at is I maybe got better at recognising what might turn into a song. But what I find now, if I'm a bit blocked, I'll go back to, March 88 to September 88, which is this dog-eared old school exercise book. And I'll go back to it, and I'll find a whole lot of stuff that did turn into songs, but a whole lot of other things that never turned into anything, and I've forgotten about it completely, and it'll just start another fire. I really, that's the first thing. If people come to me and ask me about songwriting, that's the first thing. That's the first advice I give them. I think it's important for anybody that's an artist too. Because you need to be in dialogue with yourself. You need to sit down regularly and put the date at the top of the page, and then go like an archaeologist going through the different layers of what you are on that day. And the top layer will always be your current preoccupations and your minor frustrations, and you're late for work and that sort of stuff. And then the next layer, once you've written that down, it clears away, and the next layer can be something that is a little bit deeper, maybe in a relationship issue that's been going on. Write that down. Further down, you'll find something else that you maybe have not even been aware of. And if you go down like an archaeologist through all the different layers, that's your resource material. where your song might be going to
There's
grow
golden
out.
in their hills.
Yeah, there's golden. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we've got 6 minutes, so we're going to, 5, and the light's gone green. So what
Is that what those are?
Yeah, that's telling us that we're near the end of the train journey. I do want to mention, though, that Don's latest CD is in the foyer, and Don will be out there to have a natter and a drink and sign them for you if you want to grab one and go home and have a listen. Is that right?
That's right.
That's cool.
That's right.
Now, some questions. So where are the microphones? Are they running around? Have to get in on the inside. It's Leafaloo and Cardigan Bay. Any hands? Yes, there's one. Sorry, not in, yeah.
I'm interested in your duds. I'm fascinated to know what you do with them. Do you put them aside and go, it didn't work, I'm not going to go back to that? Or do you recycle?
The duds.
I have books and books and boxes of duds, and they, depending on what my state of mind is at any particular given time, it could be a pearler. You never know. It's there's a couple of songs on the record that we did a couple of years ago on Secondhand Planet that were duds when we looked at them, the first record, and it just seemed that the band had evolved enough to take the song somewhere else as well. So, if there was one thing I heard, I think it was even Lennon that said it, just don't throw anything out. Never. I've literally got boxes and boxes of crap that I hope to use one day,
And I'm quite a slow writer, and I don't finish that much, and so what I tend to do is foist my duds on the paying public.
Question here.
When you're writing, how much does the sort of commercial need to get songs on the radio, or I guess present them like for Jason, in a form the op shop can perform? How much does that affect your writing?
I honestly can't say that it doesn't, because the context of the realm that your career is invested in, and I want to be a career artist. So, given what I do and the context that I do it in, that 3.5-minute pop songs fit better than 10-minute tone poems. As much as I might be inclined to have a crack at the tone poems, no one's going to ever play it. But that's not to guarantee that anyone's ever going to play the 3.5-minute version either. So it doesn't encroach upon what I do, but you're completely. Well, I'm aware of it when I'm in the process.
What I like to say is that you can be as purist as you like, and you can say that your song is a pure piece of art, and it shouldn't be sullied by commercial considerations. But that is ignoring the fact that all the songs that you care about and you cared about through your whole upbringing are the product of somebody making those compromises, somebody powering away at that craft to create a 3-minute pop song, 3.5-minute pop song. So there's a huge precedent, and you can't. Because we're a little to the side of the music industry, there's quite a purist sentiment among a lot of musicians here in this country, which is something of a protection mechanism. I think it's easy to say, well, I'm too pure to be on the radio if you haven't been on the radio. I use that argument all the time.
We've probably only got time for one more. We could toss a coin. No, here we go. Yep, go for it, brother.
Thanks. Firstly, a comment. It's comforting to know you have a high dud to keeper ratio. And just one other question as well. Do you have any conscious ideas? How do you keep fresh for people that have written many songs, and without trying to rewrite that same message again, do you find just life itself, do you evolve in your songwriting, or is it just simply new inspiration being put through the same method?
Wow. I think writing anything that you do is any form of art is you've got to. It's got to be your habit. You've got to be engaged in the process the whole time, and your job is to notice the world. Your job is to be a witness to the world.
Absolutely.
And you look around, and the world desperately needs witnesses. There's a whole lot of people out there that want to sell you their idea of the world to meet their own agenda, and that is a spur to me. That notion that there are some of us who never get proper jobs, just some of us who, we look for all the world like mad people, wandering along the road with our scraps of paper and our dog-eared journals and scribbling away furiously, and some songs come out. But for however unconventional and tragic we might look, or tatty we might look, not tragic.
Definitely tatty.
Yeah, we are among those people that stand up and say, this is what the world looks like from where we're standing. And that's enough of a reason to do it. For me, it's enough of a reason to struggle through the times when you feel that you've said it all before, because we're not here very long. We're not on Earth terribly long, and we've got to be wandering around, looking at our neighbourhood and trying to make sense of it, trying to describe it to other people.
We've got a mechanism in Opshop that we call the rocking chair test, just to add further what Don's saying, and that's really a kind of quality control mechanism for ourselves. It's because what other people think of what we do is up to other people, and as long as we're happy with it, as long as we were true to ourselves on the day and we bared witness and gave our interpretation of it to what we thought right or wrong, then we're happy with it. So, yeah, the rocking chair test is the mechanism.